Napoleon may not have been the greatest emperor that France ever had, but he certainly was one of the most famous. And though he might be best remembered for his military defeats in the early 19th century, there are still many places in France and even around the world that celebrate his victories, like this one right here. This is the Arcdetriomphe. It's one of the most famous monuments in all of Paris, sitting at the end of the Champs, arguably the most famous street in the city. In fact, it's become so iconic that there's actually a replica of it in North Korea. But of course, the original is the one that everyone knows. It was built in 1806 by none other than Napoleon himself, and it has been standing there proudly ever since. Well, almost proudly. It's actually been covered in scaffolding for renovations for the last couple of years now, so the public hasn't actually been able to see it. But that will all change in October of 2024, because come October, this monument to Napoleon and the glory of France will once again be free for all to admire. In today's episode, we're going to tell you everything you need to know about this amazing Parisian landmark. How did it get there? What's its connection to Napoleon? And why is it such a big deal? These are the questions we'll answer and more as we explore the story of the Arc de Triomphe. Today, the Arc de Triomphe stands tall at the western end of the Champs, the grandest street in Paris, if not all of Europe. For over 200 years, it has marked this spot where the Champs meets with 12 other streets radiating outwards from it like spokes on a wheel. This large roundabout is known as Place Charles de Gaulle, named after the general who led France to victory in World War I. But before he was honored here, this place bore another name, Place de l'Étoile, or Star Place. That was because of the star shape created by these 12 converging roads. And when the Arc de Triomphe was first erected, it was placed right in the center of this roundabout. Since then, that traffic circle has gotten bigger, and now the arc stands at the end of one side of it. It's an ideal location, one that gets lots of foot traffic and is very visible from across the Champs. That makes it easy for tourists and locals alike to find. But that wasn't always the case. When it was first constructed, it was placed in a rather inconvenient spot, far away from the bustling center of Paris. So what made this location so special that Napoleon chose it to build his monument? What was that monument? And how did it get there? Let's go back to the beginning to find out. It was the year 1806, and the young French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte was looking for a way to commemorate his recent victory at the Battle of Austerlitz. That was a huge win for France against a coalition force that included Austria, Russia, and Sweden. It took place in the Czech Republic, near the town of Slavkov, Uberna, but was the first major battle of the Napoleonic Wars. Austerlitz is considered to be one of Napoleon's greatest victories and was key in establishing his dominance in Europe. He decided to mark the occasion by building a triumphal arch to be erected in Paris, the capital of his empire. An arch is an ancient form of monument used throughout history to celebrate military victories and important events. They were commonly built in ancient Rome, where they were often decorated with sculptures or reliefs depicting scenes from the battle or the ruler's life. So it's no surprise that Napoleon would opt for something similar to honor his own accomplishments. He ordered the construction of the Arc de Triomphe in 1806. But the work was stopped several times due to political events and regime changes in France. Construction of the arch finally finished in 1836. More than 30 years later, during the July Monarchy, when King Louis-Philippe I was on the throne, Napoleon was defeated and exiled by that point, first to Elba and then St. Helena. His empire had fallen, and he would never again rule France. Still, the arch was built as a tribute to him and his armies, bearing the names of great French generals and victories. It's a reminder of a time when France was at the height of its power, and its military was unmatched in Europe. Though Napoleon wasn't around to see it completed, the arch was built according to his specifications. It stands about 50 meters high and is adorned with inscriptions honoring the men who fought in his army and the battles they won. Let's take a closer look at those details. On the inner arch, above the roadway, there's an inscription that reads D'honneur, and 11 Victoire des Nations, which translates to Legion of Honor, Year 11, Victory of the Nations. This refers to the Legion of Honor, a French order of merit that was established by Napoleon in 1804. The number 11 represents the year of the French Republic, which began in 1792. Finally, Victoire des Nations means Victory of the Nations. referring to Napoleon's victories in the Napoleonic Wars. Below the main inscription are the names of French generals who died during the French Revolutionary Wars and the Napoleonic Wars, including some of the most famous names in French military history, such as Desaix-Augereau and Marceau. On the other side, above the roadway, is the inscription Austerlitz, which simply marks the date and location of Napoleon's famous victory at the Battle of Austerlitz. Below that are the names of French generals who lived to fight another day, including Napoleon himself. This information can help us learn a lot about the Napoleonic Wars. One thing we can notice is that only French generals are listed on the arch. This is unsurprising since the arch was built by Napoleon to commemorate his own victories and honor those who fought in his army. It doesn't mention any of the enemies that France faced during the wars. We can also learn something about the importance of the generals. Those who are listed on the arch were likely seen as heroes in France at the time. Their names were well known throughout the country, and their deeds were celebrated. Now let's talk about the outside of the arch. There are 4 statues on the front facing the champs. 2 are of winged genies holding up the tricolor cockade, the red, white, and blue symbol of France, and to others represent the Seine River and the city of Paris. On either side of the main arch are 2 smaller arches. These contain the names of battles and victories of Napoleon's armies during the Napoleonic Wars. The battles are listed in chronological order, starting with the 1796 Battle of Lodi and ending with the 1815 Battle of Waterloo, Napoleon's final defeat. On top of the arch is a sculpture of a chariot drawn by 4 horses. It's driven by the winged goddess of victory, Nike, who is holding a laurel wreath in her right hand. She's also wearing a long robe and a necklace with the heads of 2 more genies. The sculpture is meant to symbolize the French people's victory over their enemies. We can see that the Arcdetriomphe is a monument to Napoleon and his armies. It celebrates their victories and honors those who fought in his army. It's also a symbol of France's military strength and power. At the time when it was built, France was still recovering from the French Revolution. The country had been through a lot of turmoil and change in the previous decades. Napoleon had come to power in the midst of this chaos and had managed to bring stability and order to the country. He had also led France to victory in a number of wars, and the Arc de Triomphe was a way of celebrating that success. Since its completion, the arch has become one of the most iconic monuments in Paris. It's been the site of many official celebrations, including the coronation of Napoleon III in 1852 and the armistice that ended World War I in 1918. It continues to be an important symbol of France's national identity and is one of the most visited tourist attractions in the city. Sadly, in 1981, the arch suffered some serious damage. A truck carrying gasoline crashed into the monument, causing significant damage to the structure and the surrounding area. The incident caused widespread shock and outrage in France, but the arch was eventually restored to its former glory and remains a testament to the resilience of this iconic landmark. Today, the Arc de Triomphe remains one of the most important symbols of France. It's a reminder of the country's rich history and its role as a world power. If you're ever in Paris, be sure to visit this amazing monument and pay your respects to the brave soldiers who fought and died in the Napoleonic Wars.